Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of our Tee to Green Extra. As we do for Triple Crown races, we bring in one of our Tee to Green friends, Ryan Hasenauer, the Director of Marketing from Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel in Western OTB, to give you a little preview. If you want to get some winnings, well, Ryan's the guy to tell you how to do it, and maybe some good picks, too, as well, we hope. As Ryan and his crew, of course, have been studying the horses, and we're ready to go. It's Kentucky Derby weekend here, with it being the first Saturday in September, Ryan. Normally the first Saturday in May, but here we are with the adjusted schedule, as it also is for the golf calendar. It is for the horse racing schedule, and it's Derby weekend.
Yeah, right, to be with Labor Day and football starting, and the kids are going back to school. It's certainly a little hectic, and of course we got the news on Thursday that we're going to be opening up the gaming facility. So it's been a banner day for news here in the Batavia Downs area, but. Looking forward, hopefully, to seeing people out of the branches this weekend. It'll look a little bit different, but there's still going to be those giant pools for people to try to win money for, the Kentucky Derby, because there's no other race that has the pools be as big. And so the potential there is just fantastic for anybody who wants to make a wager this Saturday. Yeah.
You mentioned the opening. So September 9th, officially, Governor Cuomo saying that Batavia Downs and other New York casinos can open. So that's good news for you and people that love to come to the casino. How about just a little bit more on what that means for those that'll be coming to enjoy the experience that is Batavia Downs Gaming?
So we've gone ahead and we've done a ton of cleaning. We kind of did at the end of June when we were reopening. We went ahead and we're going to be doing a lot of work these next couple of days just to make sure that everything gets another deep clean. We'll be diving into the guidelines that the New York State Gaming Commission and the state of New York will be sending us to make sure that everybody is following those protocols. I'm sure face coverings are going to be one of those important things that we have to, be doing. So everyone will be mandatory for wearing those face coverings. But the other things, we want to make sure that everybody understands it's going to look a little bit different, but there's still the same amount of fun that you can have. We're still going to be doing some great promotions. We're still going to have our fantastic restaurants. And, again, we're just looking forward to seeing everybody back on the 9th and from here on out after that.
That's right. It might be limited capacity, but you can still win 100%. That's right.
Everybody, who's coming out there, if you're feeling a little sick, we're going to be there. Take some time and maybe not come out if you're not feeling so great. Just like any other business is asking folks, just be considerate of other people. We're excited to get our people back to work. We've got 400 plus really hardworking employees from Western New York, and they're going to be back to work. So just, be considerate of, our employees as well as your fellow guests here at the gaming facility when you come, and understand that, we're all just trying to get through this together. So let's be in it together.
Absolutely. Good words of advice wherever you're going across Western New York. Okay, so Derby Day is today, and we know Churchill Downs will look a little different, Ryan. Normally it's filled with 6 figures worth of people in the stands.
Yep. Absolutely. The gills at the old Twin Spires there as everyone gets ready to, the run for the roses. But they wanted to have fans. If you remember back when they postponed it the first time, they said, but we will have fans in September when we do it. And then it just kind of didn't work out, and it'll be run without fans. But, I still think, without all that pomp and circumstance, it's still the Kentucky Derby, and it's still the major race on the calendar. And it's a little bit different this year because it's after the Belmont, but there's still a really good field of horses. There's going to be 18 of them. And, it might be not as wide open as in years past, but that still doesn't mean you can't make money betting on the horses at Batavia Downs on our ADW, BataviaBets.com, or at Western OTB.
Ryan, do you think we've obviously on our station on WGR, we've been debating about home field advantage with the Bills and what it might mean and what the Bills might be losing, as I think, you and I are in agreement that the Bills probably have one of the better home field advantages in the NFL. For horses, though, yes, they're listening to their jockeys, but they sense the crowd. They sense the noise, and let's face it, they're animals. They react just like maybe even a pet would at your house here. So I'm not saying that this gives one horse an advantage or a disadvantage, but, I mean, it's got to be different for some of these racing horses that maybe are used to feeling that energy off the crowd. I wonder if some of these jockeys or trainers are in some way preparing for that in any way.
Well, racing's been going on this entire time without fans. If you recall, it was one of the only things that was really open for a time horse racing before all the other sports came back. So while the jockeys and certainly some of the horses are used to running without the fans, I think Todd mentioned this during the Breeders' Cup last year when you guys were on site for our radio remote, that there are some horses that react very, very well to the crowd. They really do feed off of it. And if you've got a horse that, they've only been racing maybe 3 or 4 races, and the last 2 races have been in front of no fans, you might not know whether or not these horses are going to be good or bad based on the lack of the crowd. But I agree, it certainly is something to think about as whether or not it's going to have an effect. But we know that some of the horses that have won, like Tiz the Law, and some of these other horses that have done well, I don't know if it'll affect them too much. So that's good if you're looking to bet the chalk, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, you mentioned Tiz the Law. Let's start talking about the field itself. Tiz the Law coming off of the win at the Belmont, obviously trying to get themselves one step closer to the Triple Crown. A 3-5 favorite. It's tough to make money off that, Ryan, if that's where you're going to make your wager.
Yeah, and really, if you're going to try to make money on this race, you're either going to do one of 2 things. You're either going to bet him to lose, which I don't really want to do that, because if he wins, it sets up a Triple Crown at the Preakness business. But the other way you can make money if you're not going to bet on him to lose is you key him to win. So you only have one horse on top. It's called a key. And then what you do is you got to figure out underneath in these exotic bets, these exactas, tries, and supers, who's coming in second, third, and fourth. And are some of these long shots in this field, which we're going to go over here in a second, where are they going to figure in? And if you can make the right combination, certainly you can still make money. I can't remember it because I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think there was a race a couple years ago, because the Derby, the winner has been the favorite 6 out of the last 7 years. And you've been there with me, Brian.
Yep.
We preview the race. I'm like, oh, the favorite's the favorite, and he doesn't look like he's going to get beat. And he hasn't been beat 6 out of the last 7 years. So, but in some of those races, you still had a long shot. You still had 50-1 or a 30-1 come in second, and the exacta still paid you hundreds of dollars. So even if you were to do something crazy like take 16 or 17 bucks and say, give me a $1 exacta wheel, the 17 over everybody else. And if Tiz the Law wins and you're hoping for a long shot to come in second, there's no way you're not going to make your money back. Just because there's so many horses, the pools are so large when it comes to the exactas and tries. So let's go, if you don't mind, Brian, we'll go horse by horse here. And why don't we start with Tiz the Law? We can do that. And so we'll just kind of go over Tiz the Law in his last 3 starts, all wins. The Florida Derby back there at Gulfstream Park in March. The Belmont Stakes at Belmont Park in June. And his last race was actually the Travers at Saratoga back on the 8th of August. So he's going to have about a 1-month layoff here. Give or take a couple of days. And the winner going away with Manuel Franco on his back. Barclay Tagg is his trainer. And, boy, he just looks tough to beat. So you got to include him in your bets. If you're going to do an exacta and you hope he gets beat, you at least should put him for second or third, because you're really going to be kicking yourself if you have the horse that wins and it's not Tiz the Law and you forgot to put Tiz the Law second and he comes second. So no matter what you're doing, you need to include him in your exotic bets here on Saturday. So go back to number 1, Finnick the Fierce. Finnick, maybe for those of you who are Hunger Games fans, I think there was a character named Finnick, so maybe you place a bet on him. 50-1 odds, Martin Garcia on the back, Ray Hernandez is the trainer. A little bit of a tough go for him in the Bluegrass Stakes. He finished 7th with an 86 speed rating, and that went down from his previous one, so not likely to be a factor here on Saturday. Number 2 is Max Player, 3rd in the Travers Stakes behind, of course, Tiz the Law. He's got Ricardo Santana Jr. and Steve Asmussen on his back. Steve Asmussen is a wonderful trainer, and just after finishing 3rd in the Belmont to, again, Tiz the Law, he actually got a trainer change. So it was somebody else prior to this, and then he went into the Steve Asmussen stable after the Belmont. So coming in 3rd twice in a row to, the winner and the favorite in the race, certainly not a bad thing. And both the horses that finished 2nd in those 2 races, they're not racing in the Kentucky Derby this Saturday. So he looks to be a horse that can at least stay within, 6 or 7 lengths. He lost by 7.5 and 5.25 lengths, but certainly somebody that could definitely hit the board, as they say in horse racing. So you want to include the number 2 Max Player probably in your exotic bets. Number 3 is Enforceable with Adam, and I've never seen this jockey before, so my apologies, but it looks like it says Best Shiza. And Mark Cass is the jockey, or is the trainer there. 30-1 odds. Again, 4th in the Bluegrass Stakes, which is pretty respectable. But again, his speed rating kind of starting to go down, so not necessarily the best situation there. Number 4, Storm the Court for you NCAA basketball fans. Finished 2nd in the La Hala handicap. back there in the 9th of August. So he's got about a month layoff as well. He's got a different jockey on his back, though. His jockey is on a different horse today. So a little bit of a change there. And again, 50-1 odds, not necessarily somebody who's going to factor in, but he does have good speed numbers. So maybe he hits the board in 4th or 3rd, possibility there. Number 5 is Major Fed, 50-1 odds. James Graham is the jockey, and Gregory Foley is the trainer. He's got a 2nd place finish in the Indiana Derby, and which is certainly a nice thing. But again, the Indiana Derby is a grade 3 race, not a grade 1, not one of those qualifying races that would get you into the Derby. He's got some good speed figures, but again, it's not necessarily a horse that you think is going to hit the board here today. King Guillermo is the number 6 horse, 20-1 odds with Sammy Camacho on the back. Juan Avila is the trainer. Now, King Guillermo on Thursday did have some foot issues, so we'll see if he ends up going today or not. That's still a question, so we're not sure if that's going to happen. 2nd in the Arkansas Derby to Nadal, who, of course, is not racing today either. And, in a mile and an 1/8, certainly did well, only 3 back from the winner there with a very good speed rating. So if he's healthy, and again, that's kind of a big if here with King Guillermo, he certainly could factor as well. Number 7 is Money Moves. Money Moves finished 2nd in an allowance race for $76,000, which you got to start somewhere. But again, he's 30-1 odds, and even though he's got a great jockey on his back, and Javier Castellano, as my friend always tells me, never get bet against Castellano. He's got 2 wins and a 2nd in his last 3 races, but they're all lower-level allowance races. So this is a very big step up in class for the number 7, Money Moves. Number 8 for you Notre Dame fans is South Bend. 50-1 odds. Tyler Gaffalione is on the back with William Mott as the trainer. Again, some pretty good speed figures. Finished 4th in the Travers Stakes behind Tiz the Law and Max Player in 3rd. So he certainly was part of that run there. But he did finish 9.5 lengths back, which is pretty far behind the winner there. So could factor in maybe, but probably not going for those top 2 spots. Number 9 is Mr. Big News, and he's 50-1 with Gabriel Saez on the back with Calhoun there as his trainer. 6th in the Bluegrass Stakes, and he did get 1st in the Oaklawn Stakes, which was one of those lead-up races as well as we get ready for the Kentucky Derby. But he's got, just his speed figures are just not there for this horse, so I just don't see him factoring in. Number 10 is an interesting horse. 1,000 Words is his name. He's 15-1 with a nice speed rating in his last race, a 107 in the Shared Belief race where he won. And it's also important to note that his jockey, of course, is Florent Giroux, who's a great jockey. But this is the lone, not the lone, but one of the Bob Baffert horses. So, again, anytime you got Bob Baffert, you got to probably keep him in some of your bets. I'll certainly be using the number 10, 1,000 Words, in some of my bets. Maybe not for 1st, but 3rd or 4th, I'll definitely be using him. Number 11 is Necker Island. He's 50-1 on the morning line. 3rd place in the ELP Derby behind the Art Collector, who, of course, being scratched and not in this race. Pretty decent speed figures, but again, at those, he's a long shot and he just doesn't have the speed. Number 12 is Solo Volante. Again, Luca Panici is the jockey with Patrick Viacone as the trainer. 30-1 odds, 6th in the Belmont. He's the other horse who did race in the Belmont Stakes, but he was only good enough for 6th, 15.5 lengths back from Tiz the Law, who won that race, of course. And again, the speed figures were great in his first 2 races. In the Tampa Bay, where he finished 2nd, the Tampa Bay Derby, and in a $55,000 allowance race, he actually won that race. But again, it's tough to see. He might have got jostled around a little bit. He wandered, tried to go 7 wide in the Belmont Stakes. So maybe something to keep an eye on, maybe for 3rd or 4th. But again, you'd have to take a look at his workouts and see. Number 13 is a live long shot here, and it's certainly somebody that Todd has turned me on to as far as horses are concerned. Attachment rate, he's 50-1. So you figure, he's another one of these 51 horses that will cast him off to the side. He finished 2nd in the ELP Derby to Art Collector, who again, we mentioned is not racing today. In the Bluegrass Stakes, he finished 5th. Again, just 8.5 lengths behind Art Collector in that race. Certainly, he's not finishing, 2nd or finished 2nd in the 1, but he's not winning those races. But what's interesting is those are huge fields. Those are 12 and 13 horse fields. and he's finishing in the top couple. So this is a horse that really has maybe the possibility to keep pace and go up against Tiz the Law and probably hit the board maybe in third or fourth. I'll probably be including him, quite frankly, in second, hoping that he hits the board at 50-1 odds. The number 14 horse is Winning an Impression, and this is another 50-1 horse. It's Joseph Rocco Jr. is the jockey, and Dallas Stewart is the trainer. He finished 7th in that ELP Derby behind Art Collector and Attachment Rate, but his speed numbers are they're just not there. Number 15 is New York Traffic. Paco Lopez is the jockey, and Safi Joseph is the trainer. Now, he's a 20-1, and he did finish second in the Haskell. The Haskell, of course, being one of the other summer races, usually a horse that races in the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont. They'll come back and race in the Haskell before they go race in the Travers. But with everything being all over the place this year, the Haskell was running out there at Monmouth Park, and a horse that came in second behind a horse named Authentic, who is in this race, and we'll talk about them later. So again, a horse that is certainly somebody you might want to include, just being as how they have a very good speed rating in that horse race, and he's got the same jockey the last 2 races, both of which he came in second. So New York Traffic might be somebody you want to keep an eye on. The next 3 horses are all great. We already talked about 17, Tiz the Law. And by the way, Brian, no horse has ever won the Kentucky Derby from the number 17 post. Of course, they didn't really run with more than 16 horses until the mid-40s. So they've only been racing, with that number of horses for the last however many years. But, no horse has ever won from the 17 hole. So it'll be interesting if Tiz the Law can do that. But the number 16, Honor AP, comes from very good breeding stock. He's 5-1. He's a second-choice favorite. He came in second in the Shared Belief Stakes behind 1,000 Words, which you talked about, the number 10 horse. But this is Mike Smith. This is one of the preeminent jockeys out there. Mike Smith's on the back. John Sheriffs is the trainer. You're not going to find 2 more storied people to kind of be around your horse. Somebody you're going to have to include in all of your bets. Certainly, he won the Santa Anita Derby with Mike Smith aboard. So Honor AP is somebody you want to include. And then, of course, Tiz the Law we talked about. And then the number 18, Authentic. Now, this horse won the Haskell, second in the Santa Anita Derby to Honor AP, which you just mentioned, and actually won the San Felipe Stakes, which is one of those lead-up races at Santa Anita as horses get ready for the Santa Anita Derby. So this horse is 8-1. He's certainly somebody you want to keep an eye on. All his speed figures in his last 3 races are above 100. So looking at the field, I like the 17, the 16, the 13, the 2, and the 10. Those are my 5 horses. I'll probably put a $20 bill down through a dollar exacta box with all 5 of those. And then using some of the other horses we mentioned, I'll be doing a litany of 10-cent supers, and although maybe not 10-cent supers, but certainly some supers, some trifectas, some exactas, and using some of these horses here. And again, follow me at RyanH7681 on Twitter, and I'll be tweeting out all my picks. I'll be at the Whirly branch, which we've been at before together for some WGR remotes. So that's where I'll be. You can come see me at the Whirly branch on Saturday, and I'll make your wager.
Okay, excellent. So good job breaking down the field there. A lot of good information. You mentioned the Whirly Drive OTB, but all the OTBs across Western New York are open. And also, even if you don't want to leave your house, Ryan, you can still go to BataviaBets.com.
That's right. BataviaBets.com is the place to be if you just want to remain very socially distant. If you do want to come out to the branches, of course, they all open at 10:30 today on Saturday, so you can come on out and watch the, get in there. Any of the places like Whirly where there's multiple doors, we're going to have indoors and outdoors. So you'll be coming in at Whirly front, like the one that faces, the major road there. 2 that are on the side, those entrance exits, they'll be exits only, just so we can make sure that we really control the flow of people. Derby Day is always a busy day, and most of the year we're not really worried about social distancing in the OTB branches because people are either in their spots or they come in, they wager, and they leave. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I know that our staff is up for it. And of course, we ask anybody that's coming out to the OTB branches, of course, face coverings are mandatory, and we just ask you to look out for your fellow, wagerer there, and just be patient and be kind. And if I'm at the front door and I'm telling you, hey, you got to wait till some people leave on either side, and then I can let you in. That's just the way how it's going to be. So, and if you don't want to wait, there's always easy bets. I think most of the easy bets in Western New York are open. There's a couple that are still remain closed. But if you check westernotb.com for the location near you, you can see where you can make a wager. It's want to make sure everyone realizes too that Batavia Downs, where you and I are usually broadcasting from, is still closed. And even though the gaming facility is closed, so too is the OTB simulcast center where you can make your wager. So don't come to Batavia Downs today on Saturday. They will not be open to take your wager. Got to wager on Batavia Bets or at the OTB Bets.
Okay. So Batavia Downs Gaming, though, will be open on September 9th. So that's coming up next week. So looking forward to that. And we still have the Preakness coming up the following month from now, Ryan. So good stuff to look forward to here. A lot of the sports world is kind of shifted its calendar. The horse racing industry kind of going right with it here. But the Derby is always, to me, the most exciting one. I know it's in a different spot. And we even have a little more knowledge than maybe we normally would. But there's still nothing like just seeing them kind of get themselves in the gates and off and racing to start. It's one of the best parts of American sports to me, is that, you know, that anticipation of the race and then finally they're off and going. It's one of the best parts, I think, of American sports.
I agree, you know, especially too, because at Churchill Downs, if you remember, where they have the gate, and there's a new gate this year, Brian. Usually, if you remember, there's a gap between 16 and 17.
Yes.
And 17 horses like bow out or whatever else. They made a new gate and it's all the same. So they're all right next to each other like they should be. So there's no little gap there. So, and again, there's only 18 horses, but still, the way they position that gate, they go in front of the grandstand where the finish line is, and they go all the way around again. Those first couple of moments where those horses come out, it's one of the best 2 minutes in American sports, just the excitement. And I know that we have sports betting now, and I partake in it myself, you know, and there's all kinds of other instant gratification distractions. But, you know, for the longest time and still today, you know, betting on a horse race and seeing it come through and knowing that you studied one of these things and you're like, oh, this is the horse. Why do I like this horse? I like the color of the horse. I like the jockey's name. I like, you know, the name of the horse, whatever it is, whatever crazy thing you do to handicap and figure out the horse. When that pays off and you win, it's a great feeling. And it's certainly something that's been a tradition for such a long time. So it's going to be awesome. And a late start, 7:00 for the Kentucky Derby, as we'll probably be more like 7:05. Go back a little bit too, but it should be a lot of fun to watch.
Excellent. All right, so BataviaBets.com or any of the Western OTB locations, if you want to come out and say hello to Ryan and have him help you with your bet, he'll be at the Worley Drive location right by the airport, so it's an easy spot to get to. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, for all of our normal Tee to Green viewers here, we've still got our majors contest coming up. 2 more majors this year. The U.S. Open is at the end of September, and the Masters is in early November. So you'll have 2 more chances to get in on that contest and win some great prizes, courtesy of Batavia Downs Gaming. Ryan, thank you as always, and we'll be doing this again next month when we talk about the final stretch of the Triple Crown.
Fantastic. Can't wait. Thanks, Brian.
Awesome. Ryan Hasenauer with us from Batavia Downs Gaming, the Director of Marketing, right here on our Tee to Green Extra. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time right here on Tee to Green.